All right, so a little update on the Rumely. You can probably tell I've got the fuel tank off. What I'm working on now is I'm gonna split the tractor. So there's probably about, I don't know, 15 bolts or so that hold the transmission and the engine together right here at the clutch. So I've got about half those out on the top half. I'm gonna start cribbing up both halves. Probably the engine I'm gonna leave stationary because the way that front tire is, don't think it'll roll too well. And then the transmission half and rear end, I'm going to put on my floor jack. I'm also going to put some cribbing under it in case something happens. That way it doesn't hit the ground. But I'll remove the bolts, and then my plan is to roll the rear of the tractor back. Hoping about a foot will get me enough room, but we'll just see. So I've got to take the steering, what is this, drag link or whatever. Got to take it off because it connects the front to the back. Also, I've got to take this wishbone looking piece here for the front suspension. Got to take it off. It's just got one big bolt on it down here. I might take it loose up front, I'm not sure, just so they're out of the way. And then I've got to take these bottom bolts out. So I'm gonna work on that and start getting it cribbed up, and then I'll get back with you, maybe get some footage of splitting the tractor. Now we're making some progress. Good deal. I'm gonna let the jack down. The engine just barely not in the blocks, so if I let it down, I should hopefully help drive it apart some more too. We'll keep rocking these rear wheels and prying. I think it's coming apart for me, so. Slow and steady. Probably close to a 1/4 inch apart now. All right, probably gonna wait and try and get some help so I can push evenly on both sides of the tractor. It looks like it's actually separated fully on the castings where they fit together, so I'll get back with you guys after I get some help. We'll get this thing back apart all the way. Here, let's swap sides. Ready? A little more. All right, that should work. Thank you. All right, so we got it split open. Had my wife come help roll it back. Here's a look inside. You can see it was full of water at some point, right up to the middle of the crank shaft. So hopefully we didn't end up with a bunch of rust right there on the crank journals, the main bearing journals. But here's kind of a look at what I've got here in the clutch. So we'll get all this taken apart and cleaned up, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody. All right, so I got the Rumely split apart here. I'm working towards getting the engine pulled off so I can put it on either an engine stand or just work on it from the ground. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Maybe prop it up on some blocks, but there's several bolts under the front here. And to get to those, what I'm planning to do is pull this fan assembly off. I think there's 3 bolts down here holding it to the block. And then once I get that off, I'm gonna pull this fan shroud off, and I'm hoping that gives me enough room to get in with a wrench to pull those little bolts out that are part of the oil pan. So that's what I'm gonna work on now. And hopefully before long, we'll get the engine pulled off. All right, so there's 6 little 1/4-inch bolts that hold this shroud on. I've also gone ahead and pulled the fan assembly off. There's 3 bolts, probably 9/16 or 1/2 inch that hold it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the shroud off, see if that gets us access to the bolts we're looking for. All right, so now I can easily get to the bolts that are here on the front of the oil pan. So I'll go ahead and start getting those loose, and we'll be one step closer to pulling this engine off and finish getting it apart. So. All right, so I got the front bolts off the engine. They were tucked up right in there. Looks like there's just one on each side. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unhook this lower radiator hose or tube, whatever you will call it, because that's connecting the front of the engine to the radiator. So I'm gonna get that pulled off. I'm gonna double check everything back here around where the flywheel was. Make sure there's nothing I need to pull off over here. Looks like a couple of the bell housing bolts, I'll need to pull those off. So I'm gonna get that off too, and this lower pipe, and we'll see about separating the engine from the little oil pan frame deal down there. All right, so I got all the bolts holding the top half of this bell housing on. I got those off. I noticed there's 2 dowel pins that locate the bell housing, one right here and then one here on the opposite side. So with that being said, I'm gonna tap up on it right here and hopefully get this top slid off the dowel pins. So let's see what we can do here. You can tell it's moving a little bit, but there we go. We'll get a hold of it good. There we go. I'm gonna go ahead and put all the bolts that I took out, I'm gonna put those back in just so I can keep them all in the right spot. There is a gasket here, so I'll need to be sure and make a new gasket. Interesting enough though, this connection here at the bell housing to the clutch, there was no gasket, so anyways. All right, thanks guys. All right, so everything should be clear to lift the engine off this, I'm calling it the oil pan frame. But to double check, I'm gonna go ahead and pry up on this corner here with one of these bell housing bolts, and we'll see if we get any clearance. Hopefully you guys saw that. It looked like it was moving pretty good. I'll go ahead and pry up on this front corner. There's a little bit of a lip here. See if I can get a bite on it. Yep. Maybe you guys can see it moving. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get some chain and rig this up to lift it. I'll pull my tractor in here and we'll use a come along to lift it up. I'm thinking I may attach to one of these front bolts where the fan assembly bolted up, and to one of these back bolts where the bell housing bolts up. So I'll get some stuff together and see what we can get rigged up, and go ahead and pull the tractor in. All right, so I've got the engine rigged up here with some chain. I've got one of the bolts here for the bell housing, and then I've got the bolt there for the water pump like I had thought. And I've got my tractor in here with a 3/4 ton come along. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cranking on this and see what we got. I may have to center the tractor or something here in a minute, we'll see. There we go. Starting to move now. There it is. So I'm just going to pick up on it enough to clear the crankshaft from the oil pan here. back the tractor out, and we'll set this on some blocks for now. Might end up getting an engine stand to hold it. A little bit more. All right, everything should clear. We'll go ahead and get this chain pulled up, and we'll get some 6x6s and then lower it down with the 6x6s on the edge of the block to support everything. So, thanks guys.